Okay, hello everyone. How you guys doing? Having fun?
Hello, everyone.
Shushvi, I don't want to hear you. Do you know, like, this is one of the most difficult parts of my profession. Um, when you make a video, you have to listen to it in order to make sure that the editing is good and, there's no artifacts and you didn't botch something up. And I have to listen to my own voice. Can you understand just how annoying that is to listen to my voice? Like, you guys, the highlight of my life. Maybe I should start smoking. Like, I hear smoking actually gives you a better voice, makes you a little bit more manly. Would be an interesting thing. Nice video about the bank. I mean, it's just like my personal observation. I don't understand why you should deposit money in a bank. Like, what do I get? And everyone is like, no, you should do it. Why? And the dumb mistake, it's like, well, it prevents people from doing fraud. Like, okay, but if that's your reasoning, why shouldn't every person be forced to have a cell phone with them? Like, smartphones nowadays are actually quite cheap. I even saw a beggar having a smartphone. This is something really interesting, right? When smartphones came out, they were this luxury, believe it or not. Like, I remember, hell, when mobile phones came out, very few people could afford them. And now, even a beggar can have a smartphone. Like, who owns the banks, V? It's straight white men, Dastian. That is the social justice approved. But here's the thing. The fact that people complain about wealth disparity is understandable. Like, no one likes wealth disparity, but at the same time, you gotta understand. It's like all the things that used to be luxuries when I grew up are now so cheap that it's unthinkable that a person wouldn't own them. So, for example, when I grew up, a color TV was a luxury. Now people, even like the poor people, have a laptop in their house. Microwave. Microwave was a luxury. Now every single person has a microwave. And now we have the same with the smartphones. So here's the thing. I don't understand like why I should hold my money in the bank. I really don't. And the idea it's like, well, to make sure that people are protected against fraud. It's like, okay, well then everyone should have a smartphone. And they should carry the smartphone at all times. And the smartphone should have like a tracking device. And the police will have a really easy time catching criminals, right? I mean, if that's the way we want to move as a society to give more and more safety, then why shouldn't people have to carry a smartphone every time? If you leave your house without a smartphone, you should get a fine. Thank you, Josiah Wolf. You changed your avatar, didn't you? See, I recognize you there. Trickle down economics, isn't it? Color television was special not too long ago. VCRs, an extraordinary gadget. Yeah, I remember like my parents went to Poland when the Iron Curtain collapsed. And my mom bought this VCR, which was incredibly expensive. And my dad was upset because it's like she invested all the money in buying a VCR. Turns out it sold like pancakes. It was very easy to sell that VCR. And now they're even like, well, I guess like now it's difficult to come across, but they're redundant. They're useless. Everyone has a computer. You can record stuff on a computer. I remember like VCR, man, like those were the days, the days of the VCR. Is there a single person in the chat that didn't catch a VCR? I think like Generation Z actually lived without a VCR. I need to show to people who don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, obviously VCR stands for video cassette recorder. And I just realized like, man, that there might be people that grew up without a VCR, right? So let's take a trip down the memory lane. This is how a VCR would look like. Later, it was replaced by a DVD. I'm pretty sure like even Generation Z grew with a DVD. But you had these things, these cassettes. And what's interesting is that the VCR also had the separate remote. So you had two remotes. You had one remote for the television and another remote for the VCR, which allowed you to pause the movie. Like, that was just, wow, you can pause the movie. Wow. So you would go to this place that would rent VCRs. Let me see if I can find an image of that. A VCR store. Can you imagine, like, the salt when all of these went out of a business? So yeah, like, this was Netflix back in the day. This was Netflix for mommy and daddy. You'd go to one of these places that were, like, filled with VCR cassettes, right? And they would have a catalog. Like, I remember how it was. They would have a catalog, and they would have, like, movies based on genre. So you had, like, drama, you had sci-fi, you have fantasy, you have comedy. And you look at a title, and you choose something that you like, and they would take that cassette if it was available, because it was the possibility that what you wanted was already rented, so you'd have to wait for it for a day. So you take that cassette, and then they would put it, like, they would have, like, this little television, and they would show you, like, parts of the movie, and you would decide if you want to see it or not, like, if you're interested or not. So you, like, how it worked in my country is you'd give your ID to the store so that they can make sure you come back to give them the cassette, right? So you'd leave your ID there. Don't laugh, like, that actually happened. You would leave your ID at the video cassette store. And they would give you the cassette. And you would pay, you know, like, a minor fee for renting that movie. Now, what's interesting is that there were rules. Like, it was kind of normal that you would rewind the tape after seeing it. So, like, after you watch the whole thing, you would put it in your VCR to rewind it so that the next person that wants to see it would watch it from the beginning. But there were some trolls that would, instead of rewinding, they would literally, like, leave the cassette at the exact point of the most important spoiler. Like, they would leave it at a point where if you put it in and you click play, you would get, like, the biggest spoil in the movie. And I think, like, why would someone do this? Like, that takes a lot of effort, all right? Like, that takes a lot of work, because you have to use a VCR. It's not like a computer where you just click and you go on the band and you choose, you know, where you want to watch it. No. You have to, like, rewind, and, like, you would spend actual time in order to do this, to capture that exact moment. And you would never get, like, the satisfaction in seeing the person getting annoyed. Because that's what part of trolling is. Like, you want to see the other person getting rage-faced. You want to see the other person getting angry. But, like, you don't get to see that. You just do it. You know, you just... Like, why would people do something like this? It kind of shows that trolling was before the internet. The most porn on the tape. Like, yeah, Kelly Miller. It was purely evil. Like, I know that trolling existed way before the internet appeared. There were, like, I remember, like, going to the library and buying books, renting books, right? Like, you'd rent a book, and then you would give it back. It was the same. And you would read the book, and if you would get, like, a spoiler written with a pen on the, like, you know, the main character dies, page 145. You know, like, imagine buying a Harry Potter book, but again, like, back then you wouldn't buy it, you would just rent it. And as you're reading Harry Potter, it says Snape dies, page 167. And it's like, why do people do this? Like, why would they do this? Because, like, they don't get to see the satisfaction of the person getting angry, right? They just do it, and like, it's pure evil. Like, you can't name it anywhere else. Times when you could rent a whole goddamn console. Okay, now that didn't happen to me. But, we still have, like, in my town, we still have places where there's sofas, and you can take your girlfriend on a date and play PlayStation games with her. Like, I actually like that. You know, there's a lot of PlayStation. I don't think they have online play. Let me see if I can actually find something. But this was, like, an excellent place where you could take a girlfriend on a date if you're a teenager. Let me see if I can get a picture. I don't know if I can get a picture of it. Oh, I misspelled the name of the place. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm having difficulty with this. Okay, I found it. Starnet Gaming. Yeah. So it actually has like two things. It's got a place where you can rent a gaming computer, and you know, like this is something that existed for a while. It's this internet cafe where you get a computer and you play LAN with the friends. Believe it or not, in my town it still exists, and I think it's because it's a whole new experience when you do it like this and the person is next to you. You can have Discord, you can have all these new gadgets, but it's just a new, a different atmosphere. It's a different experience when you play with friends. But they also have these things, right? And these things are usually in a mall. And you get like the sofa, and you can go with two people, and I think it costs $2 an hour or something like that. And you get to play whatever games they have on. You know, they have like a charged controller, and some places that are a little bit more advanced, they offer these things, right? So you get, like if you want to play sports games or something like that, you actually have a wheel, and you can press the pedal to accelerate. So that's kind of cool. I never seen them having VR though. And yes, you have to pay to use those. Like, why wouldn't you? Someone has to maintain these things, right? Like when a controller gets damaged, they have to buy a new one. Plus, there is a guy there, which, you know, television gets damaged, they have to buy a new one. So no, it's. Do they still exist in South Korea? Yeah, I don't know. But like the thing is, like couch multiplayer is actually fun. I had a lot of successful dates. You know, to take a girl in order to play some PlayStation games with. You just, I don't know, like it's something different. You know, it's like something that a lot of teenage girls don't expect. You know, like they expect that you would take them to a walk in the park or to give them some juice. Don't laugh. Like under communism, there wasn't. I don't think like, yeah, there was just only one type of juice. Like there weren't many places where you could take a girl out, so you take her out in order to buy some juice, you know, and you get juice. Like what did they have? I think they had, no, hold on, not orange juice. Carrot juice they used to have. I think apple juice, and that's pretty much it. It was called Brifkor or something like that. Yeah. Will Alex Jones make an appearance in Dungeons and Dragons? No. Grape juice, that's for adults. Well, think about it. Like, there wasn't a lot of imports, so you didn't have bananas and other things like kiwis. And let me see if I can find the brand. Yeah, this was the brand. Like, this was one of the only type of juice available. It was called Brifkor. Believe it or not, it was actually natural. Like, it didn't have that many additives in it. And yeah, it actually had oranges, but the problem with it was that it was the fruits that were rejected. Like, the type of fruits that they wouldn't be able to sell, you know, because they look bad. Those were the fruits that were made into Brifkor. See, the communists didn't want to waste anything. So, you'd end up buying this. And yeah, you would take your girlfriend on a date, and you would give her a Chico. It was Brifkor and Chico. These were the two alternatives. Good times. Good times. By the way, I managed to lose 4 kilograms in 1 week. Like, I went to a nutritionist. I'm thinking about making an actual video on this. This is some good shit. So I went to a nutritionist, and the woman, initially I thought that she wants to kill me. Like when I looked at the options that I have to eat, Like honestly, that was the most contrarian woman I have ever met, and I met quite a few. It's like, what do you like to eat? And I'm like pasta, and she goes, I'm like pizza. She goes, I'm like crembers. She goes, It's like, woman, do you expect me to starve? Like, why do you? So let me see if I can find the thing. Okay, I found it. So according to her, and this is something that I do at med school as well, but like I never actually applied it. In order to lose weight, the most important thing is to eat 3 meals a day. And when you eat meat, like if you want a steak or something, you need to also add the salad. Like you need fiber with protein. You just the thing is, like, a lot of people think it's like if you're fat you're rich. It's actually the opposite now. Like I used to eat 1 meal a day. It's not that, like, I didn't stuff myself with food. No, I would eat like 1 piece of steak a day and that's it. You know, it's really easy. You get it out of your system. It's like, okay, I did this thing, like I ate. But no, you need 3 meals a day. Apparently, like, every single day I have to drink 250 milliliters of water on an empty stomach. And then, like, every single day I get something different. So, for example, the second day is 330 milliliters of milk plus 1 loaf of bread. This is the breakfast. And then at lunch, 150 grams of turkey breast. But you have to remove the skin, like the most tasty part, you know, like that crunchy, the one that's delicious and makes you... No, you're not allowed. 300 grams of mushrooms and 200 grams of carrot. And 200 grams of, what do you call it, like bell pepper or whatever. And it's like, when you actually look at these portions, they're meant for a child. It's like, what are you doing? Why? And then it's pumpkin, 250 milligrams of pumpkin, 50 grams of carrot, 50 grams of onion, 50 grams of bell pepper, and then tomato juice, 50 grams. Oh God, like, these are things that they are horrible. 1 gram coca. Not hungry anymore. Yeah, that's true. You know, like, coca would have fixed the issue. In the Aztec Empire, they would use coca seeds as currency. V's weight loss segment is not for comparisons to other YouTubers. I don't know. Like, I've not seen other YouTubers losing weight. I don't even hear other people talk about it. I officially lost more weight than Boogie. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's the case. But I did lose a lot of weight. And the problem was, like, in the first couple of days, I was really hungry the whole day. But now it's not that I'm hungry, it's more like I'm peckish. Like, I really want to have an ice cream. I really want to have some chocolate, you know. But yeah. You starve yourself of carbs until your body gets fake starved. Well, the thing is, like, this diet is not supposed to be long term. It's just for 2 weeks, and then I get like a 1 month diet. So yeah. Okay, let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons. So you guys who watched the last episode, let me know what you think. But the problem that I had with this party is that they felt that the game is on rails. They weren't invested in the world, and the fact that one player had more power than everyone else was a problem. So by assassinating the entire leaders of the church, now I think the players will be far more invested in the world. Why? Because they are going to care more about the city. Like, the city is now going to be like their character, really. They're going to care more about their characters. If their character dies, they lose all the authority they've gathered. And they don't really have power over one another, because now everyone is on the inn. So let's see. thing is, this is a more story driven than Dungeons and Dragon Crusaders. I initially tried making this into a horror campaign, but I don't see Dungeons and Dragons being the best medium for a horror campaign. Simply because the players have too many abilities, are too powerful, and if I introduce a monster they can't defeat, they will rage. So it's a lot better to leave Lovecraft campaigns for the actual Lovecraft table, which reminds you before playing it when you read the rules that Lovecraft is a racist. No, seriously, like if you buy the board game HP for Lovecraft, it tells you that the author is a racist, and it's like, okay, how does it feel to make money off of a racist if that's the case? Why Aztec elves? The reason I think Aztec elves are interesting is because I was thinking, like, what type of factions can I create and how can I make them very unique? And the fantasy element of the Aztecs seems to be really cool. Like if you go into the fantasy, right? So you just take what happened in reality and you just hype it up a notch. You get like a lot of blood sacrifices. You get a lot of magic. There's a lot of room for exploration. You get jungles that you can fill up with all sorts of crazy creatures. I don't see why dinosaurs wouldn't fit very well. Like, look, all of these characters that you have here could be really great in an Aztec environment. And plus, like, I know what my players like. I know Sargon is really into dinosaurs. I know other people love this type of going into a jungle and exploring stuff, like Indiana Jones. So, like, look, you can have these things. And I found also this manual. I don't think it's from an official book, but it's got like so many monsters. It's got like 300 pages of monsters, and you can see some of them really belonging into the faction that I want to make. I mean, look at here. This one's really great. Bloody Bones. And look at this. You can even have the cats. I think like this manual even has a couple of furries, and you even have burning hands to use against them, so that's a plus. Let me see if I can find the furries actually. Look at this. Just look. And also, like, I wanted to have some racism in my world because I inspired this from Tol Warhammer. The Witcher has racism. Dragon Age has racism. Like, it's a cool thing to get the players to experience what it's like to be on the opposite end, when people are racist towards you. And I needed to have like a good reason of why the humans are racist to the elves. And throughout human history, one of the main reasons seems to be religion. Like if your religion is being viewed as satanic or evil, then that's going to cause a lot of cultural clashes. So in this case, if the elves are doing human sacrifices, this is something that Christians heavily frowned upon. And I think that's going to add a lot more interesting things in the story that the faction can have together. How will you prevent the management of the city from being like autistical tropical crusade? I'm going to simplify it. Like, I remember when Sargon did his Dungeons and Dragons and we were building a fort or something. He literally made us roll for every single stick of paper, every single plank that was placed in a fence. And I'm definitely not going to do that. Like, I will tell them, like, these are the things on the day's agenda, right? Like, these are the 3 drama elements that you need to fix. You only have time to fix 2. Pick one, and there's going to be a dice roll. Like, I'm not going to get way too focused in the drama. And if I see the people getting way too focused in the drama, I'll just have, like, an NPC that delegates it. But elves don't do human sacrifices. They do elven sacrifices. Yeah, but Christians really didn't care about that. Like, if the Christians would find let's say, some people sacrificing each other, they would still consider that horrible. So it doesn't really matter if it's like an in-group thing. The very fact that they do it is an affront. See if I get the other questions. Tomb Raider, basically. Yeah, like, you can have a lot of Tomb Raider stuff with the Aztecs. A lot of people never use dinosaurs in their campaigns. And I think, like, that's a downside. You can have, like, really cool things with dinosaurs, and I think the way I did it works. The problem with dinosaurs is that they're mindless, right? Like, they just do their thing. They're animals. But if you have a druid that can actually control the dinosaurs and you can have them like an army, then that's really cool. And you can have them in your story, and the players can do a lot of cool things with them. Wouldn't you say it will actually divide them in the end, as everyone will plot against everyone for higher positions of power? Well, I expect the players to cooperate a bit as well. I mean, if the players just want to constantly fight with each other and constantly bicker, then there's nothing I can do about it. The only thing I'm going to try and do is to give them stronger enemies. Like, there's going to be factions that are going to attack the city, and if they keep bickering and they keep going after each other, then they're going to lose. Because they're going to have to find a way to unite and fight together against whatever enemy is there. Well, I'm sorry if you don't have the friends to play D&D with, but this was a problem in Romania. Communists wouldn't allow American interference, and Dungeons and Dragons was considered to be an American game, and as such, it never actually managed to get here. Like, I didn't even hear about Dungeons and Dragons since really later on. Like, I knew that Neverwinter is based on Dungeons and Dragons and Baldur's Gate, but I thought they're computer games. And when I heard it's like, what? This is an actual game you can play. Like, whoa. How will you handle large-scale battles? I'm going to try to avoid them, really. I'm going to allow the players to be the military commanders, and they can make decisions. But I'll ask my players, like, don't go into a large-scale battle because you're going to be killed. You're just another guy in there. You can have a mission while a large-scale battle is happening somewhere. Your decisions as a commander will influence the battle. But if you go on the battlefield and you're fighting like 1,000 elves or something, you can get killed. Like, it's not something that I really like. I watched like a lot of ways other people handle large scale battles, and I didn't enjoy it. The way Arch had it, it's like you have this military formation, and you could pivot or like move your formation around. But I didn't like it because it was just taking away so many options off the table while you were in that military formation that it wasn't really fun. Thank you, Hair Dr. Nappy, and you did Sim 2 days ago, so. 1,000 regular elves or 1 giant elf. Well, you're going to see, because I'm planning to have like every single faction battle in a different way. So the way the elves are going to do battle is they're going to try to buff their units. Like, either they're going to try to zerg the enemies with a lot of dinosaurs, or they're going to have the druids just buff one of their warriors up with a lot of spells like Stone Skin, Bark Skin, like things that will make that unit very powerful. And imagine like a T-Rex with Stone Skin. Like that's going to be, And the other faction, the Gomorrah, the technologically advanced faction, I plan for them to do something really interesting. I plan for them to learn from previous combat experiences. So, for example, if they get annihilated by burning hands in one episode, the next time they're going to encounter a different team, a different squad, they're going to be wearing material that's resistance to fire. If they're going to face strong magic users, they're going to try to develop technologies which allow them to nullify magic and that type of thing. So um, they're going to adapt and evolve based on what they're facing. And also, like, if the players find a squad that's supposed to face some elves, then they're going to have advantage because they're not equipped in order to fight the players. Do you know how bulky asbestos suits are, V? No, I do not know how bulky asbestos suits are. Has the campaign developed closely to what you planned initially? No, absolutely not. It is in a completely different direction. By the end, they will be deploying Robocops. You're going to see in a couple of sessions, like I have some encounters planned that if the player wants to take them. And I have some really cool stuff, and they are going to actually meet this faction soon. We need more orcs. Yeah, I haven't figured out like what the orcs should be. I mean, they should be like their own civilization. Gomorrah is multicultural, so you're going to find all the races there. But the orcs can, I suppose, be pirates. You know, they could have like a pirate island or something. That would be cool. We need more cool humans. I don't like humans. Like, I'm really bored with humans. I see humans every day, so in a fantasy game, I try to focus on other races. Make orcs into blacks, like just like the social justice warrior said. No, I'm not going to do that. I just want like unique factions that have like different specializations that make sense. So, for example, if you're on an island, then obviously you're going to be really good at ships, like merchants and pirates and whatnot. I think the geography of the land gets people. The geography of the land shapes people a lot more. So, for example, people that are born in the mountains aren't going to be very good salesmen. You know, they're not going to be very good at building ships. Like, their civilization isn't going to be oriented in making good boats because they're on mountains, but they might be really good miners. So yeah. Samurai orcs are played out. Are they? I mean, I guess. Viking pirate orcs with their own island. Yeah, there's something like that. I don't really want to go into Norwegian thing because Arch, being a Norwegian, he knows a lot about Norwegian culture and tradition. And I don't want to botch the names. I don't want to say things that he goes like, oh, that's not right. Oh, that's not correct. You know, like that would be really annoying. But maybe I'll try. You know, like maybe I will have some orcish raids. Do you think Ark and Sargon will get along? I have no idea. Viking Works was Warcraft 2. Yeah, I guess so. Why was the last Dungeons and Dragons so short? I think it's because Sargon lost the will to play. The thing with Aquila, obviously, like, he was just looking at the emails and he was just trying to respond to that, so he didn't have, like, the full attention. That's what I think. Sargon has no stamina. Yeah, well, you can ask him, like, how long. You can ask his missus how long does she last in the bedroom, you know? But, you know, like, I'm still looking for different factions and ideas for them. The thing is, like, I don't want to make the world too big. I don't like the people that, like, just spend a lot of time creating a lot of things. Because when you create something and you say, oh, well, that's very cool, then you want to use it. And I don't want to create a lot of things that are too cool. And it's like, oh, I want to use this. Oh, I want to use that. Right now, I just want to create a villain. So it will have to be a cool villain. And I'm thinking about making the villain based on Arch and Sargon's ideology, but take it to the extreme. So Arch is really greedy and he's power hungry. So that's one of the things that the villain would be. And Sargon is like the paladin who, you know, smashes everything in order to, I guess, have his way. And he feels that he is righteous in what he is doing. even if sometimes it's not. So the villain will probably be like a guy that hates magic and is just 100% for technology. So yeah, I'm still thinking about it. Why are people talking about keto diet when we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons and elves? You know, like, this is what I like. When people say everything is political, and they're okay when you talk politics into Dungeons and Dragons, or when you talk politics into soccer and football and all the other shit. It's like, imagine talking about communism and you have like a big brain conversation about socialism, and all you talk about is keto diet. You know, like after a big brain wash video, he goes into the comments section and he expects to see how people interact with his video, and everyone is talking about a keto diet. The fact that the monk and the Inquisition hate the ever-living hell out of each other is my favorite thing about the players. The monk and the Inquisitor. Well, I don't know. They cooperated with the last campaign, so maybe things will take a turn for the better. My favorite part is like when people on the left keep telling, it's like, have you read this study? Well, did you read this study? It's like, isn't the left saying that there is no such thing as objectivity, and mankind as a subjective creature cannot achieve true objectivity? Which is why they're actually making the argument that 2 + 2 = 5 recently. Very interesting discussion on Twitter. Very thought-provoking and thought-stimulating. But if you want to keep talking about my study, let me see if I can find the link. There was a person which came out with a study talking about wealth disparity. And because they didn't like what he found, they canceled him. They got him fired. All right, so look here. Researcher releases paper suggesting that maybe poor people can play a part in their own financial emancipation by changing their mindset and setting long-term goals. And because of this, the paper was retracted. He apologized and later was fired. So, you know, like, look at the articles attacking them, you know. And it's like, okay, well, you can say, you know, like, I heard the argument. It's like, okay, maybe his study is flawed. Perfect. Do you know how many flawed studies there are per year? Like, there are quite a few. And it's quite interesting that it's kind of implied, if you want to dabble into some forbidden topics, if your study is even a little bit flawed, you get fired. But if you're in the medical field and you write something like this, let me see the study where it's okay to kill babies that are 3 years old, then you get to keep your job. Yeah, the afterbirth abortion, I think it's called. Two authors suggested that killing blah blah. Why is this doing to me? Okay, 2 authors suggested that killing healthy newborns might be morally permissible, subsuming it under the heading of afterbirth abortion. Like, the way they wrote the article is that if it's okay to terminate a pregnancy with a fetus, then why wouldn't it be okay to terminate a baby because he can't talk? Like, they consider, like, what does it mean to be human, and their answer to what it means to be human. And I, honestly, like, this is like the crux, the main focus point on why the left and the right will never agree with each other on abortion. Is because the question is, like, what does it mean to be human? You know, when does life begin? And the religious people say it begins at conception. Leftists say it begins, you know, when the nervous system is formed. I don't know why people care about the heart. The heart pumps blood. But now, like, the same, there are people which are saying, it's like, no. Like, a human begins when they learn to speak and they can formulate cognitive thoughts and whatnot. So now you get this article, you know? And the people writing it, they don't get fired. This is from 2013, I should add. Like, it's an old article. But, like, you can find articles like this every single day. None of them get fired. None of them have their jobs in jeopardy. But the moment you say, you know, you attack some core left-leaning philosophies and you say, well, maybe poor people are poor because, like some part of poverty has to do with their mindset. They need long-term goals or whatnot. Oh, now you get fired. Now it's okay to get fired. So it's like, okay, well, you know, it's like Lysenkoism in the USSR, where you had this guy with this interesting philosophy that, plants are your comrades and they can work together with socialism. You don't need fertilizer, just have like different plants and they work together. And anyone that disagreed with Lysenkoism would get fired. Well, it's pure than that, like very simple. You disagree with it, boom, you get fired. You agree with it, boom, you get promoted. And what happens is like a massive starvation. So what does Lysenko do? Well, he says it's like, no, the reason it didn't work is because people didn't follow my advice to the letter. So what does the party do? Well, they start rounding up the peasants and they put them to the gulag because they are sabotaging the nation's economy. So, this is what really annoys me. It's like when you see this ideology that doesn't allow some studies. Like, let me show you some other studies that don't get allowed. So this is from The Guardian, right? University turned down politically incorrect transgender research. So there were a couple of researchers that wanted to say, okay, well, how many transgender people are satisfied with the surgery? Like, let's make a statistic. How many, have their lives improved and how many are happy with the gender reassessment surgery? And it was shut down by the university because it's politically incorrect. So, if you're going to do this, you're discrediting, you're literally discrediting this study. So I don't care at this point. I really don't give a shit. You have communism infestation in the chat. That's a good thing. That is a symptom of a free society. A society without communists is not a free society. Why kill off the entire church leadership when the patriarch alone dying would have been enough of a plot hook? Because it's more interesting for the players to actually have control over the whole town. I want to see what they do. Now they're not on rails. Now, and not to mention, like, the church isn't the only faction in the town. Like, they still have Goldsmith, which is the faction that actually has the military. So it's going to be interesting to see what the people are going to do with this. Being infested with communism is good. Thank you, V. Very, very cool. No, but think about it. Like, a country that doesn't allow for an ideology and persecutes the members of the ideology is not a free society. Because if it persecutes that member of the ideology, it's going to persecute other people. The problem is, like, I don't care, like, communists exist. The problem is when communists start doing actions against other people. Like doing harm to other people. That's the problem. The fact that they flap their mouths and go yappity yap, like, no one gives a shit. Like, imagine if you have a person that goes on a stage and tells the people on that stage, it's like, yeah, we're going to come after your property. Like, everything you have, everything you work for, we're going to take away. And then you have another person that's a capitalist that says, no, you get to sell your labor to whomever you want. Everything that you amass is yours. Who do you think the people are going to listen to? This is why the communists need censorship. Because their ideas aren't palatable. And the Nazis need censorship as well. Like the far right and the far left. The religious need censorship. Like, people who are for liberty, they don't need censorship because everyone wants to be free. Like, I don't know many people that want to be locked up. Even the people that are advocating for ideologies that are totalitarian, they never view themselves as being the ones subjected to the authoritarianism. No, they view themselves as running the things. They view themselves sitting at the table with Stalin. They view themselves sitting in this inner circle of Hitler. They don't view themselves as the person getting persecuted by them. You can be a communist in a capitalist society, but you can't be a capitalist in a communist society. That's absolutely correct. This is why people require education. If you educate the masses, especially like, but there's no interest in doing that. But if you were to make sure that every single person has like some basic understanding of economy, you wouldn't see the shit that happens today. Like, for example, most people, when they're promised something for free, like let's say free healthcare, right? A lot of people go like, yeah, free healthcare, yeah. But when you tell them, it's like, look, if you want free healthcare, like, number one, your taxes are going to go up. And number two, when you look at countries that have free healthcare, like here in Europe, they also have a lot of things that you might not like. So, for example, It's not just the healthcare. You have a sugar tax in a lot of European countries. Why? Because now the government wants you to be healthy. Because in America, if you get sick, that's your problem. You got sick. So people are more responsible, allegedly. Here in Europe, if you get sick, it's everyone's problem because everyone has to pitch in taxpayer money in order to make you healthy. Right? And people would rather make a kid with leukemia healthy than a drunk person that is at his second liver transplant. This is why there's rules regarding liver transplant that you need to stop drinking and so on. So there's a lot of things that Europeans do that Americans would never do. So I gave the example on the alcohol tax in Sweden and Norway. So a beer in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, costs $50. Let me just look it up. Yeah. No, sorry, not $50. My bad. $7. Okay, $7 for this. And the reason this costs $7 is not because of the product or the materials or the labor. No, it costs $7 because the government is taxing alcohol so much so that they get people to drink less. It's very difficult to be an alcoholic in Sweden because of how much money it costs to be an alcoholic. They do the same with cigarettes. They do the same with a lot of things. And all of this is because it has public health care. If you get sick, now it's everyone's problem. Now everyone has to pitch in their money in order to make you healthy. So the government is literally mommy and daddy going like, okay, well, kids should not have sugary drinks in a large area around school. Schools are not allowed to sell sugary beverages within the premise. Alcohol gets a tax. Sugar gets a tax. And you get like all these things and all these regulations. I don't think like Americans would be happy if you did that. Hey Sharfat Otaku, how's it going? Yeah, $7. $7 for a can of beer. That's how much is in Sweden. And take into account like no one drinks just one can of beer. If you drank 3 cans of beer, then there's $24. Why do you say I lie? I mean, look here. It's literally here like 8 Swedish kroner, which is $1. So one bottle of beer is about $9.30 in Sweden. Sorry, my bad. $9.30. As a Swede, I will say it does not cost. Well, okay. How much does it cost Great Profit if you're a Swedish person? Am I lying by lowering it or raising it? I just Googled average beer price in Sweden. I think it's right. Like maybe it's just this type of beer, but like okay, if it's £5, that would be like $6 or $7. So it's still. Norway has the big price. Hold on, now I'm curious how much is in Sweden. Let's look at Norway. Holy shit. €7. That's like almost $8 per beer. Why is beer so expensive in Norway? Beer is very expensive because it's heavily taxed, as are all alcoholic beverages. As part of the strategy to curb alcoholism, my Norwegian friends assure me that the plan is not working. Norway is the only oil-producing country with high gas prices, and Norway has the highest gas prices in the world. Okay. Is it expensive in Norway? One of the most expensive countries in Europe. Okay. There we go. There is no such thing as Scandinavia. It's all Skyrim. I'm not sure about that. Here in bar, you cannot get a pint under €5. Okay, so there's a difference between buying alcohol from the kiosk and buying alcohol from a bar. And a lot of communists do not get this difference. And it's quite annoying because you see communists just simply not getting it. It's like, oh, why is it that if I buy a lemonade from a restaurant, I gotta pay $3 for it? Oh, that's capitalism ripping me off. It's like, no, you moron. The restaurant okay, they have to pay the staff. They have to pay the waiter. The waiter has time taken out of his schedule to go and talk with the cook, which the cook then takes a lemon, squeezes the juice, and does it for you. In this time, other people are waiting. You're occupying a table. Like, all of these things are taken into account. And then it's the atmosphere. You know, like the chairs, they might need replacing. The tables need replacing. They need to clean those tables. So, like, everything they're selling, a part of it just goes into the business to pay the electricity, to pay the water, to pay the detergent, to pay the cleaning lady. So that is why when you go into a pub, a beer costs €5. Like, most of that doesn't go into the pocket of the restaurant owner. Most of that goes into the costs to operate the business. Okay. Taxation is theft. The government should have a GoFundMe. Oh yeah, I want to talk about GoFundMe a little bit. I don't trust them anymore. If I'm ever going to start a Kickstarter or whatever, I will not use GoFundMe. Here's the problem. There's this guy, Academic Agent. Now, Academic Agent, from my knowledge, is a very right-wing individual. He is so far to the right that he's not even in the normal realm of politics. He's not authoritarian right-wing, like he's not a Nazi. He is an ANCAP. Okay, like the type of person... Well, he's borderline ANCAP. Okay, like in his perfect world, the government would just have a police force, do roads, and a military. That's it. Like, literally, that's it. Nothing else. And yeah, as you can imagine, you know, he's very controversial. But some people at his university found out where he is, doxed him. They found out his name, his workplace, and then they compiled a video where he is being taken out of context, and they send that to his university, so he gets fired. So he's got like this idea in order to start a website. The guy is Iranian as well, like just to show that the left doesn't really care about ethnicities or whatnot. But you know, he's recently married, he's got a kid, and he needs money, so he starts a website, he starts a GoFundMe. The GoFundMe reaches the goal. I think he was trying to raise like $10,000 or something. Well, no, he lives in England, like he's English, but ethnically he's Iranian. And he reaches that, and then GoFundMe shuts it down. And it's like, yeah, you know, don't use GoFundMe, it's not trustworthy. Like, if you're going to do something like that, I'm not going to trust a website that does this shit. So now he is starting an alternative. These people are literally pushing companies to the Russians. Like, Subscribestar, the reason it's not being taken down now, and they obviously really hate it, is because it's owned by Russians, and they operate with Russian banks and stuff. And a lot of people didn't trust the Russians, but man, I tell you this, like, I'm more willing to trust the Russians than the Chinese. Like, the Chinese are still an authoritarian de facto government, which can tell companies to do whatever, such as gather private info or whatnot. But like Eastern European banks, no, they're fine. Like, what? You know, like the Russians, they technically are a dictatorship in some way, but like they're not like the Chinese overtly dictatorial. Like, they still try to present themselves as a democracy, and the oligarchs in Russia, they're still powerful and they have influence, so they're not going to do things like gather your personal information or whatnot. Russian banks are okay. The major ones have a good record. Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with Eastern Europe. You know, like most banks in Eastern Europe are okay. They're not doing political activism. They don't care. And most of these banks also... there are certain countries like Japan where PayPal can't just deplatform a bank. The only way PayPal can deplatform someone is if they decide to deplatform the entire nation. So PayPal is not going to be able to deplatform a Japanese person, for example, because the laws in that country protect them from that sort of interference. Based IVAs. No. Like, I'm not saying that the Russians are based. I'm saying that their banks are reliable. Like, you can trust their banks. Ethnically, he is Iranian, but he never been outside of the United Kingdom. Yeah, like, that's what I was saying. That's pretty capitalistic of Russia. Yeah, I mean, Russia is more capitalistic than it used to be, and it's obviously because they went bankrupt during the communist during the communist revolution. Okay, any questions about D&D though? Because if not, then I guess we can end the stream. I'm also thinking like what game I should play on PlayStation next. I can choose between God of War 4 and finishing Detroit Life is Oppression. Those are my questions. I don't think Putin is better than Trump. I just think Putin doesn't have to deal with the communists like Trump does. How would an alliance with the players and the elves work? Well, the elves would probably ask for something, and the players would want something in return, and, you know, like, the way I would have the alliance, if they do that, then there would be, you know, places like neutral cities where the two factions can meet. You know, probably some trade going on, and if they want to go to war, then the elves would want the players to learn their ways, and it's going to be interesting, yeah. Play Total Warhammer 2. Well, unfortunately, I have to play that on a computer, and I can't stream on my computer. Like, my computer is very old, and I'm planning in buying a house now, so all the money that I have to go to a house. Let me show you what happens when you have an aging population and you don't have an immigration problem. Yeah. Let me just show you the housing prices. Like this is why the housing prices are so cheap in my country, because there's very few people willing to buy them, and also the poverty that also makes it so a lot of people can't buy them. Play the oppressed toasters. All right, so. I wanted to buy a house that is up to 100,000 euros, right? And because of that, I had to buy one that's outside the city. And look at this, right? Like this is just a website where I can show you the housing prices in my country. This is a 130,000 euros house. And you get like all this garden. I mean, this is a little bit too expensive for me, but I saw it, right? So you get this garden, you get the house. It's in a gated community where, you know, people have these houses and they have parking spaces and whatnot. And let's see if you can see what's inside it. Yeah, I don't know if if it comes up with the furniture, like you have to buy the furniture. This is just like an example. It does come with all of the bathroom utilities, so you don't have to spend money on a toilet and whatnot. But this is what you can buy for 130,000 euros. So a 2-story villa with a big garden. Now, I found this for 79,000 euros, and I'm actually very interested in this. It's also in a gated community, with like a gatekeeper and a person that you know, you have to show ID before you can go in. There's going to be Japanese cherry blossoms. Like the houses have gazebos behind them, and it's like, oh my god, like that. No, like I need the gazebo. And it looks like this. It's a small house. You got a small yard. And the big ones, they're 2-story floors, but I think like the big ones are 100,000 euros. So I haven't decided. Like this is a little bit too expensive for me. Like I don't want to risk, you know, going into debt and then not be able to pay it. Even if my girlfriend still has a job, that would be a problem. And the baths seem a little bit small. But like this is how much you can get with 100,000 in my country. Like you also need to understand, people here speak English. Like if you want to move to Eastern Europe. It's really great. It's difficult to find a job here, but if you work online, like if you're a computer programmer, if you're a doctor or something that's actually needed, man, you can have a really good life here. This is part of the amenities. Like you get this pond where you can fish. Everyone from the community can gather here and fish, and have a barbecue, and then this is like the inside of the house and whatnot. And this is 75,000 euros. Now, like this is a video presentation, so in reality it doesn't look so good. This is just made from a Photoshop. But I've been to the place, and it does look interesting. Though most of the place is a dump now, because they're in construction, like they're constructing it right now. It's kind of far away from the major city, but still. And this is like, again, there aren't enough people wanting to buy houses. This is why the price is down. This is what is normally what happens when you have an aging population. You should have a lot of cheap housing. Get the big one. Well, Mr. Angry, I like, obviously my girlfriend wants the big one, but like, I told her, it's like, look, it's risky, because I don't know if I can keep doing what I'm doing right now. Like, the way it works right now, I can put all the money, every single dollar that I make on YouTube, and put it in the bank, while my girlfriend can use her money in order to buy food and pay for the rent and all of that. So, we can have it going, but it's difficult. The cool thing about the big house is that I can actually film from the gazebo. Like, I can record myself from the gazebo. That's going to be cool. Heating this all in the winter, expensive if you don't burn wood on the side. Yeah, like, the price of heating is expensive, but like here, I already pay a lot of money. How much do I pay for heating here? I think I pay about $100 every month just for the heating. 20% down is a must. Yeah, I think I can cover that because I've been saving money for a while. So I think I can cover the 20% down. If the Democrats successfully rig this election, I'm moving. Well, if you come to Eastern Europe, then we can talk. Start a corporation with Sargon. No, like in Romania, it's very difficult to start a corporation. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of people that you need to bribe. There's a lot of oils that need greasing. Especially if you muscle in on people. Like, the reason I'm being left alone is that I don't bother anyone. But like, if you start a company that actually bothers with other established companies, then you're going to get into a lot of trouble. Why are there no 100% Romanian-owned bank? Because the people owning the Romanian banks bankrupt them. They stole the money. That's why. I don't understand the heating bill. Well, the heating bill is like, when, in my case, I live under a tenant, right? So there's more apartments here. And we have this boiler downstairs that heats up the whole building. It's, like, I hate it. I prefer to, like, it's one of the main reasons I also want to move, because you have no control over it. So at the end of the month, you pay depending on how much heating was given to the whole block. So maybe now I can understand the heating bill. Google 5e tools to find the result is a great site for resources. I'll try. Thank you, Ralph. If you need bi-weekly payments instead of a monthly, you get 30 payments. Like, I think that if everything works as planned, I'll never be able to get another loan again, because I plan to repay the bank way before the loan expires. And I heard if you do that, the bank get really pissed off at you. They don't like it when you pay them back before the expiration date. Because you kind of skim their fees, like you avoid their fees. So, yeah. No, but think about it. It's like, there was this guy which made like a loan for, I think it was 8 months, and he paid it in 2. And that lowered his credit score. Like, every person has his credit score, so yeah. No, they don't kneecap you. They just write it down that you're not a good client, and then they don't do business with you. Why bank pay no interest for your deposit? Well, why should they pay interest for my deposit? Like, if every person is forced by the government to deposit their money in the bank, why would the bank pay anyone for depositing their money if they're forced to do it anyway? A straw poll to vote on encounters would be engaging for the audience. Well, what do you mean? Like, I can't really do it because the audience, like not even I can figure out what the players want to do. So not only that, but like the players would then kind of know what encounters are coming up if I do that. The bank actually charges you to withdraw money. Yeah, they do. They do. Like every single time I withdraw money on my credit card, I think they charge me like 5% or something. It's ridiculous. I hate them. I really hate the banks. You know, like I didn't understand why people used to hate the banks, but now I do. It's like, it's my money. I'm forced to use the bank in order to gain the money, and then when I withdraw it, I have to pay them. If I stack cash, they're upset, like, why am I stacking cash? If I don't do credit, they're upset, like, why do I have no credit? Do you roll dice for encounters? Yeah, I roll dice to see how many monsters get to be spawned. Like, I have a general idea. But usually, like, if I want a random encounter when the ranger rolls dice in order to travel through the wilderness, if he rolls really low, then he will get an encounter. I remember when I started letting the audience choose who gets bonus XP. Yeah, but it's like, the problem with allowing people to gain bonus XP is that I don't want the party where one player is level 5 and another player is level 3 and another player is level 6. It's very difficult to balance such a party. Yeah, loan sharking is illegal for the little guy. Yeah, Kelly. But basically the problem with loan sharking is that a lot of people took advantage of it, and there were certain clauses which made people lose their homes, and they ended up being in debt for their entire lives. So I kind of get why loan sharking is illegal. It's not necessarily because the banks. It's also because like a lot of people did loan sharking improperly. So yeah, I was disenfranchised from the system long ago. I forced myself against the bones of the earth. I mean, you know, I just don't like owning money to anyone. The moment I have a debt, like the moment I have a debt, the second that I have the money to repay them, I repay them. What is loan sharking? Well, loan sharking is like, you want $1,000 from me, and I give you $1,000, but you have to give me back 1,200. And then for every day you're late, there's an extra 100, you know, something like that. I will not check out old school RuneScape. Keeping someone dead through absurd interest. Yeah, that's pretty much what loan sharking is. How can I have high credit score? Yeah, so from what I look, if you want to have a high credit score, it depends on the profession you have. Like some banks will prefer some professions, others not. Doctors, for example, or lawyers are viewed as low risk professions. Meanwhile, someone like myself is viewed as high risk. And then you have other factors. Like if you ever had a credit before, the bank wants to know that you paid it and you paid it on time. They will look at other things like what other assets do you own on your name. If there's other people that will vouch with their money for you. Like these are the things that the bank will look like. Yeah, there will be a way to get the city out of hell. And oh, hey Abdi, how's it going? You get good credit by paying loans on time. Yeah, but it's like, again, on time doesn't mean that you shouldn't be late with the payment. On time means that you shouldn't be early with the payment either, because like the bank loses interest if you do that. Have you thought of leaving Romania? No, I don't want to leave. Like, I like it here. Will you learn how to roll 20? Turn timer and such. Maybe dynamic lighting. Probably not. Is Arch a warlock or a sorcerer? He's multi-classing. He's both. I am taking a housing loan, yeah. So obviously not planning to move. My buddy would withdraw his wage in debt every week and pay it off every week. That's so, yeah. Like, I don't want to live like that. I really don't want to live like that. I want to be economically free. Why does the Serafina just possess Arch or people who know a lot about the world to consume the knowledge rather than get it the traditional person to person way? Because she likes the stories that people create. That would serve no purpose to her. Like, for her, it's like reading a book. Like, the lives of humans are just amusing for her. She gets a lot of entertainment out of it. And she wants people to make their own decisions. She doesn't like to force things. And that is why she just controls, like the people she gains control over are people that would either die if she wouldn't intervene or if it's part of a pact. Very rarely does she take control over someone unwilling. You should play a game with me on stream. Maybe I should. I have learned a whole lot of respect towards the Balkan countries and all communist places who want to be more open society, but all farts in the slick. But that slick in your bike wheel. I don't get it. Housing loan with high interest rate. No, I'm going to make a loan for 3 years. So yeah, I guess it's high interest rate, but I plan to pay it a lot faster. Like, every single dollar that I'll make on YouTube, every single cent is going to go for the loan. And I hope in a couple of years I'll make it. Why do Dacians insist on being Romans? I don't know. I think the Romans insisted. How hard is it to become a dungeon master? It depends, like, how much imagination you have, and how well you're a social person. Like, you need to know people so that you can create NPCs. You need to be able to put yourself in the mind of an intelligent mage and in the mind of a rambling drunk. Did you watch the George Floyd body cam video? No, I don't, because I don't think this was ever about George Floyd, and I don't think that whatever comes out matters. Especially since, like, other cases where you have, like, the suspect pulling a gun, like, none of it matters. You know, the hands up, don't shoot thing. Like it's irrelevant. Like, it's purely emotional. Do you want to be a good DM? Not very hard. A great DM, extremely hard. If you go to vacation, what country would you choose? Probably the United Kingdom. Like, I love London because it's multicultural. Like, you get an Asian quarter, you get, like, the Chinese quarter, you get the British quarter, and they all have, like, their own cuisines and their own stuff for sale. Like, it's a really good tourist place. I probably would hate living there. Like, the prices are enormous. Go to America. The problem with America is that it's very far away. Like, it's a 12 hours plane trip. I don't think I could do that. And you have to go through different airports and take different flights. No, not for me, sorry. But I would love to go there. Don't get me wrong. If they ever invent the commercial jet flight that makes the trip to America 3 hours, yeah, count me in. Go to Moscow. Very multicultural and cheap to live. Do they speak English, though? How did COVID impact your country? Not really that bad, but, like, economically, we're going to have to wait a year. We will fund V visits to America. After you can fund me regardless. Like, I don't mind. Most DMs don't memorize all the rules. You remember basic ones and have resources on hand to look up the more detailed ones. Yeah. V World Tour. Maybe when I finish buying the house, then I'll consider it. I want to visit Texas, I think. You know, New York is something else that I would visit. I want you to make an American visit video. Well, do you know how expensive that is? I think, like, the plane alone is $3,000 or something. Because you have to take many flights in order to get there. There's no Romania-American flight. So there's no direct flight. Like, I would have to take, like, 3 or 4 planes. So I'll have to spend more than 12 hours just commuting and going from plane to plane. So no, I like no money in the world will convince me to do that. I mean, unless like you give me 100,000. If you give me 100,000, then maybe I will. It's so-called capital, and not to mention like you can't even travel now because of COVID. Like you risk getting stuck between two countries, like it happened to other people. So yeah. Um, get a cowboy hat. Well, if I visit the United States, that's definitely something that I want to do. Getting a cowboy hat. I just talked about GoFundMe like 5 minutes ago. What they did to Alcoholic Anonymous is unacceptable. ANCAP agent. No, like, all jokes aside, like it's really disgusting what's happening. They're just making room for Russian companies to operate, like Subscribestar. I mean, I'm not complaining, but like, well, all right. Well, I'm going to end the stream here. Tomorrow we're going to be talking more about political things. And thank you for watching. And I'm really glad you guys enjoyed the last session. And I'm also glad you guys enjoyed the video on my main channel about the banks. So I'll see you guys later.